First of all, let me introduce myself. Normally we sit in the back of the pew. Maybe some of you don't know me. I'm sure a lot of you do, though. Tom Pett. I married my high school sweetheart 45 years ago with Donna. We had 3 children, and we've lived in the community all of our lives. And Calvary has been a big, big part of my life for far back as I can remember. My parents are chartered members here, and I go back to the days where we started the church in the Roxy Theater, and a few months later moved to the Silent Hall, across the street from what some of us natives remember as Mary's Supper Club. The confirmation class, I've told you, a number of you, that when I went through it was pure heck. It was me and 5 girls. One of the girls was valedictorian of the high school class, Beth Griffiths. The other girl was salutatorian at Norwell, and the other 3 were in the top 5% of their high school class. You know, I just despise Thursday afternoons. And I happened to find out at our 25th high school graduation that when Pastor would assign the lesson for the next week, the 5 girls would get together on Monday at school, and we'd take that lesson. They would study the lesson, but each one of them would take a different part of it. And they just gang up on me on Thursday afternoons. It was the pastor recognized that. It was a lot of fun. Speaking of that, almost all the way through my life, there were 3 men that really influenced me. My father, my grandfather, and Pastor Steiner. So very connected to Calvary Lutheran, and I don't know what my life would be without Calvary. When David first asked me to give this talk, he said he'd send me some information, and he did. But I went home late Sunday afternoon, and like everybody else, I Googled Temple Talk. Anybody would take a guess what the first thing that popped up? Temple Talk is a Jewish radio show. No kidding, it's a free. And if you want to listen, it's on Tuesdays between 3 and 5 on Israel's NPR or something like that. It's not very helpful. I'm here to talk about why church and attending church is so important. I was impressed to find out that throughout the Bible there are a number of connections and references to attending church. Acts 2, John 4, and in the insert today, Hebrews 10. The Bible tells us that we need to attend church so that we can worship with God and with other believers, and that we can be taught His Word. I think back to those early years when we were in the other church, where we actually sat on hard steel chairs, folding chairs. Last week they mentioned Lloyd Griffiths and Betty Griffiths, always there. David and your family was always there. How about Carl Horst? Some of these names don't mean too much. The Jaspies, of course. Hilma Flowers, all that skewed just a little bit. Hilma was our organist back in those days, but Joe and their son was always there. And of course Ed Rodeback and the Mallers. Those, count on those blizzards, lights out, anything. Those people were always in the pews on Sunday, and were role models to me when I was growing up. I work in statistics, so I crunched some numbers and did some research. A recent Gallup poll says that on any given Sunday, 41% of the Christians in the United States are sitting in the pews. The Harris poll doesn't quite agree with that, a lot lower, and they say 25%. And they say that the Gallup poll is skewed a little bit by what they call the halo effect. You go up to somebody and you ask them, do you go to church? And boom, the halo comes up and says, oh yeah, every Sunday. But the other way of that is, you speed on I-69 and boom, the halo goes, no, 69 and a half. You know, so it's somewhat skewed a little bit. But everything that I see numbers when I was doing the research, in the last 3 years, although gradually, is there an increase in the number of people that are attending church on Sunday? And that's a good thing. Blame it on the economy, young people, whatever, but at least it's going in the right direction. Attending church is a time to make new friends and reacquaint the old ones, to learn about the Bible and to thank God for everything that He has given us. The objective in going to church is to build our relationship with God and with others. And it's about an encounter with God that changes our lives. There's an institute called the Barna Institute. They're a think tank and research center out in California. And they take statistics and interviews and government reports and things and try to make some sense out of it. As far as going to church every Sunday, by doing that, those people that go to church more often are more likely to be concerned about the moral conditions, not only within their own family, but within their environment, the community where they live. And they are much more likely to believe that they are making a positive difference, not only in their lives, but also the lives of others. In the insert today, I'd like to address the last question, and it's about giving. We don't totally own our own lives. God dictates our lives. We cannot guarantee that we will be here next week, tomorrow, or an hour, or guarantee that I can make it back to the back pew. God makes his decisions for us. Our intelligence, our talents, our appearance, all those are determined by God, and it's what makes us a unique individual. Who we are, where we are when we were born, when we die, it's all done by God. Everything are gifts from God. So it's not unreasonable for him to ask us to give back just a little bit. David, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk.
Thank you so much, Tom. I'd like to point out a bulletin insert. You'll see in there an RSVP form for our upcoming stewardship dinner. 2 weeks from now, on the 24th, after worship, we will gather at the Sassafras restaurant, just opposite from Taylor Nickel Clinic, south in Bluffton, to celebrate God's generosity and to report on the results of our stewardship campaign. Please fill this out. We hope all of you can attend. If those people that we don't hear from, we'll be making phone calls to. So please return this back by next Sunday. That way we have a good solid count of who's coming to the dinner.